For more analysis, I spoke to Behnam Ben Taleblu, who is a senior fellow covering the Middle East at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies. He explained where Iran now stands in this ongoing conflict in the region.
There are two somewhat separate strands, if I have to say so myself. Strand one, the latter that you mentioned, is Iran's continued provision of material support to the Houthis, either pre-strike or post-strike. Make no mistake, the Houthis in Yemen, which have overrun that country since late 2014, are the newest member of what Iran calls the Axis of Resistance, which is this constellation of terror and proxy groups it either created or co-opted. But just because the Houthis are the newest doesn't mean they don't have the most lethal capabilities. In fact, the Houthis have anti-ship cruise missiles, anti-ship ballistic missiles, short-range ballistic missiles, medium-range ballistic missiles, suicide drones, land attack cruise missiles, you name it, they've got it. So much of Iran's long-range strike capabilities can be found in some repainted and renamed form in the hands of the Houthis. And this kind of sustained flow of weapons cut into smaller parts is what has made this group of terrorists into such a potent fighting force against the Saudis, you remember, in the past, and more recently, now harassing maritime civilian traffic in the Red Sea.
I mean, Behnam, but then when this was a war between Iran-backed Houthis and Saudi-backed Yemen, that was an internal war. Okay, there were elements, the UAE and other attacks in that kind of smaller area. What we're talking about now is attacks on foreign ships running through a very important area of the world where a lot of the world's trade runs through. So this makes it a bit different, doesn't it, that Iran is kind of helping the Houthis in this way now?
Well, it's variations on a theme, because the Houthis actually fired their first anti-ship cruise missile in 2016. In fact, they targeted an American military ship, the USS Mason, and that indeed was the first U.S. use of force in October 2016 to respond to Houthi radar installations and coastal defenses. And many of the long-range strike capabilities the Houthis have launched in the aftermath of October 7th initially tried to strike Israel. Again, the Houthis are the only proxy of Iran with medium-range ballistic missiles. They first tried to strike Israel. They failed, so now they're targeting civilian ships crossing the Red Sea. And they displayed these missiles in various parades, as well as in earlier phases of that war with the UAE and Saudi Arabia.
OK, now let's talk about the other strand, which again involves Iran, but is a different problem, let's say. Let's put it that way. I hate to put it that way, but I can't think of another way of doing it. And that is those attacks by Iranian drones on various targets in Syria and in Erbil in Kurdistan region of Iraq. What does that tell us about what Iran wants to see right now in the region?
It's an evolving threat, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because this is not the first time the Islamic Republic has employed ballistic missiles from its own territory in a public military operation. While the regime has a penchant for working through proxies, like we just mentioned, supporting terrorism or doing activities away from its soil, there has been a trend, particularly since 2017, of military operations during peacetime launched from their own soil. This tells you the high degree of confidence the regime has in these capabilities. Ballistic missiles. Iran has been home to the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East for almost over 2 decades now. What they had in quantity, they're now improving in quality. And the greater or more lethal these weapons, the lower the bar for the use of force. In fact, since the end of the Iran-Iraq War in 1988, which is the conflict that birthed the regime's interest in these missiles, the regime has now launched up to 14 ballistic missile operations from its own territory, 8 since 2017, and 5 while President Joe Biden has been in office. All of these targets have been in Syria and Iraq, yet the strike last night was the first time ever the regime engaged in a joint operation, striking both Syria and Iraq. In Syria, they claim to have targeted sites affiliated with ISIS in response to the terror attack in Kerman. And in Iraq, they allege to have struck Mossad facilities that they believe were tied to the killing of an IRGC general just a few weeks ago in Syria. This is Iran's promised, quote unquote, hard revenge. It's a play on themes of the same language they had used after the killing of Soleimani in January 2020. And the fact that the regime used ballistic missiles in 2020 and again ballistic missiles in 2024 tells you about their preference to use these missiles, the lower barrier to the use of force by Iran, and the regime's comfortability using literal weapons of war as tools of conflict adjudication.
Now, Israel has said its operations against Hamas in southern Gaza will soon enter a less intensive phase. The Hamas-run health ministry has reported the death toll in the territory has now surpassed 24,000.